Right guys, so it's Monday morning. It's time to start working on some of the bits and bobs inside. So basically, just as you saw from the last clip, it's just a big now wooden box. So we'll cut the door a little bit bigger just so we can get in and out of it a little bit easier, and we'll start inside. Cheers. Right guys, so it's time to do the installation on the roof. I'll explain what I've done and why in a minute, once after the time lapse. Hi guys, right, we're gonna do the last section of the screwing. Now it's daylight, and then we're gonna start fixing these. Now these are like a kind of like a rubber fiber board. I was gonna do an all-in-one rubber roof, rubber membrane, whatever you call it, but it was over twice the price and you can't fit it in damp weather, and I knew I was gonna be up against it with this snow and rain. So I'll do a time lapse and then I'll explain what I've done at the end. No sooner do I get finished, it starts raining. Look at it coming off my posh roof. No, it's hardly posh. And just like that, she's clean. The filthy bitch is clean. Right, so I've done the insulation. Well, phase one of the insulation. My God, that was painfully boring. So basically, 25mm insulation between every upright. The ones I've missed out is because I need to get access to wires to go through the wall. The X's are windows. I haven't done the stud wall, and I've got to put partition down here. I've done double skin where the incubator is. That's the walk-in incubator. It's about 7 foot left to right and a 4 foot, approximately 4 foot front to back. So what's next is a cover layer to go on top of the whole building, apart from the floor, roof and walls, which I can't film, and then the thermal board to go over the top. So some of it goes on the walls just for security, and then the thermal board will just be screwed just like that, so it's kind of flush. I'm not cutting into the walls because that'll give me my best thermal properties. So once all that's done, ceiling and walls, and it's time for the plasterboard to go on, then I can carry on filming. So just to explain a little bit about what I'm doing. In the walls up here, I'm going to put a series of very, very thin air ducts for cool air to come in. Basically, I've gone OTT with the insulation because it's cheaper and easier to cool a room than it is to warm it. So with me living in the not so sunny United Kingdom, we don't get too many really hot days. Last year we had this incredible heat wave and it lasted a while, which was nice, but typically we don't get too many really hot days. So I've gone over the top with the insulation, and these series of air ducts are going to allow cool air to come into the building. Now behind that wall is going to be the wrap building. Now that's going to have a series of exhaust fans blowing the air out of the wrap room out into the open. So I'm going to have a series of air ducts going through that wall, not through the incubator part, but around it and through that wall and here, there and everywhere. So what that means is to efficiently pump cool air into here and at the same time efficiently pump warm air into the wrap building, the best way of doing it is to exhaust the air out of the rack building, because a fan will naturally cool. So rather than put a fan in the rack building from this one into the rack building, because that would cool the air as it whipped through the fan. So the fans will push the air out, which will then naturally bring cool air into here. It'll obviously work its way through the building, and then it'll pass what will be by then the warm air into the rack building, thus heating the rack building and cooling urban at the very same time. I'll obviously have my air conditioning unit in here, just in case it does get a bit too warm, and I'll have extra exhaust fans in the rack building if that gets too warm in summer and stuff like that. Now I'm going to try and think of a way how to not bring the warm air from this room into the rack building during summer. I'm going to try and incorporate some sort of T-piece, so I can just switch some valves and change it from cool air coming in from the outside into both buildings and exhausting out of both buildings. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I had to slightly change my design a couple of times with this building getting a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller along the way because of hiccups. Basically, that's a walk-in incubator, and because the distance from the wall to what will be the final stud, because obviously there's more stud work to go in, because that isn't as deep as a V70 JVK rack, I've decided to put my males, my V35 there. So that means where the V35 ends, the door casing will start. So it'll all be nice and smooth throughout. So we'll get a V35, and then from that point all the way down, it'll be all V70s. Now, the plan was to have all the snakes on the back wall, but because of size, I'm going to put my hatchlings along this wall, and then I'll finish the stud work, so it'll be a door, and it'll all be kind of nice and symmetrical. And then I'm going to put, so like I said, they're going to be windows. I'm going to put the worktop from here going all the way down to there. I'm going to build it out. I'm going to build it in concrete, I think. I've seen people on YouTube doing these concrete worktops and they look really cool. And then there's going to be a sink, a really nice sink there. And then I'm thinking about doing more hatchling tubs along the bottom, kind of just melamine hatchlings for an overflow rack, because once this room is at full capacity, there's no way on earth my one and only 95 tub hatchling rack will be enough. I'm going to need a lot more. So eventually, I think this whole wall will be hatchling racks. I don't want to go too high. I could go high here, and then the rest along there, and then there'll be the last one there. But I don't want to kind of overcrowd it with racks. Although this is a snake breeding room, it's also somewhere for me to spend time, and I'm going to be in here a lot, so I want to make it nice. Now on the back wall, I'll just put some sort of poster and stuff for now, because I think I want to film from this angle, probably down. Now, these are the fixtures for the LED lighting. I've gone for Generation 4 really top-notch LED lighting. The reason I chose it, I can't remember the brand, but the reason I chose it, I use it in my shop. It generates no heat. They barely get warm. So in summer, with all the lights on, it's not going to boost the heat of the building. And also, they're about 1 centimetre thick, they're 10 millimetres thick, so they're very, very streamlined, so they're going to look nice. I'm putting them all on individual switches. That's why there's so much wiring in the ceiling. So when it's dark, I can obviously have 4 on. When it's light, I can just choose 1, 2, 3 or 4. And during feeding, I prefer to have the room a little bit darker, so I'll probably just put 1 on, one of the centre ones. They're all equally spaced, so the gaps between each one and the ends are all equal, but they are set to one side. It's a little bit deceiving. That space is greater than that space. Reason, the racks obviously don't need to be lit. So what I did is I measured where the racks would end, then I divided that space and that space in half, and then that's where the lights went. So when the racks are in, all the racks are in, the V70 racks are in, these are going to be dead centre. They are 3 foot left to right and 2 foot in diameter, and they're really, really top-notch, state-of-the-art LED light fixtures. They generate a tremendous amount of light for very, very low wattage. So yeah, that's going to be obviously the entrance. There's going to be, like I said, a door there, coffee section there. Coffee section is going to be that side, not this side, for dust and stuff like that when I'm doing bedding, because I use bedding, not paper. So all coffee and stuff, I say coffee, I mean hot drinks. I only drink coffee, I don't drink tea. So all hot drinks are going to be through there, so it's all going to be nice and clean and clear. And then in this side, it's going to be all about the snakes. So that's it so far. Like I said, from this point until all the insulation is on, I cannot do any more filming, but I'll try and make it as fast as I can. Or just touch base on expanding foam. I've got to finish bits like this off, obviously put more in, and cut back the ones that are kind of spewing out. I made a little bit of a mess up though. I forgot to put a couple of little timber supports in there, so I need to cut that back, put those timber supports in. But as I was doing it, I remembered on this, so I got the first little layer done, and then from that stud onwards, I'm going to put the supports. If you're wondering why, if you haven't watched it from the beginning, if you're wondering why there's no insulation in the roof, the insulation, I've done what's called a warm roof, which means all the insulation boards are on top, and you do a double skin of OSB board, so 2 skins of 18mm OSB board. So because them boards are not cut, and obviously there's not uprights in between them like these, there's no thermal bridge, so this is classed as a thermal bridge. Cool air can touch this side and it can see the coolness into this side, so that's, and so screws, that's a thermal bridge. So because that is one solid sheet of multiple sheets of insulation, there's no thermal bridge, so it is far warmer. But there is negatives, just like everything. There's always a compromise. So the compromise is your building is slightly taller than it would be, and that's about it. And it's a little bit more costly because you'd have to do 2 skins of OSB as opposed to 1. But the reason I chose it is because 1, it's warmer. 2 skins are better than 1, and 3, it makes lighting and stuff like that a little bit more simple. And to be quite honest, this was painfully boring. I'd say this was more boring than the digging doing this. So I'm really pleased I made that decision. But if height, because we went down so we could make this building nice and high, if the height is an issue to you, should you ever do something like this, then maybe what's called a cold ceiling would be a better option. So that means you'd cut the insulation in between each one, which then takes 100mm of insulation off your roof and then an extra 80mm off, so you gain basically 120mm internal height. But I didn't need that. My racks, if my calculations are correct, should end about there. So there's going to be a slight gap, which is perfect, and obviously that side is higher, so it should look nice and neat and well kind of thought out. Once the racks are in, there's going to be a very small gap on that side, somewhat what potentially will annoy me, but because I don't have the racks here, I didn't want to make it millimetre perfect and then make a slight mistake in the end and find out basically they're too tight. But anyway, I've talked for way too long. I hope I've covered everything. This floor is tremendously solid. I'm really pleased. We had to split the plasterboard in 2 because of the sheer weight on the floor. They're very heavy. There's 57 or 58 sheets in total, believe it or not. So yeah, so I'll carry the videos on. Thanks for all the support. I'm really enjoying sharing this experience with you. And someone asked why I'm doing kind of tips and tricks. There wasn't critiquing me in a bad way, they was just asking why I was doing tricks and tips along the way. That's simply because I hope that I'm not the only person who's part of my channel that does this. I hope you guys are one day doing your very own room, whether it's smaller, bigger or whatever. And if there's something you can take away from my videos that may help, then it'll be good for you, and it'll be nice that I've been able to help you in some way, shape or form. So that's why I'm doing a little sort of tips and tricks, and I'm sure you guys, if you ever do one, can think of other tips and tricks you can do as well. So once again, thanks a lot, guys. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Hit that notification bell, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.